Welcome to my very first YouTube video. My name's Ambro Di Pilato, and I decided to start YouTube with the sole intention of not only documenting my journey throughout the next couple of years, but educating and bringing you guys along the way. Now, I own a company called Net Revenue. We are a recruitment and management firm that helps businesses outsource their sales process so they could grow and scale and focus on their product. Now, we've predominantly operated within the online education space, along with SaaS and the agency businesses that have outsourced their sales to us to help them grow and scale. Now, I've learned a thing or two about scaling businesses along the way, and I want to showcase you guys not only the fundamentals of how you can take sales calls and become the best possible salesperson, but how you as a business owner could also grow and scale your business through the acquisition of new clients, through the finding of talent, through managing a sales operation, and how to go about scaling your business. Now, today's episode is going to be covering the fundamentals of a sales call. Now, I have something special for you guys. I'm pulling a call out of the archives of one of my sales guys taking a call in real time where we're going to analyze it together, and I'm going to break down step by step how you need to actually go about a sales process in order to see the best results. Now, the product that this salesperson is going to be selling for the online education space is going to be for real estate education. Now, let's dive into this and let's break down the fundamentals of how you're going to close your next deal.
Welcome to the deep dive. You shared this fascinating YouTube video with us. It's called How to Sell Anything from the Ambro Di Pilato channel.
Yeah, Ambro, he runs a sales outsourcing firm, right? Specializing in online education. And this video, it's pretty unique.
It really is. He actually shares a real sales call recording. We get to hear one of his team, a guy named Rico, in action.
Exactly. And it's not just any call. Rico's selling a $38,000 real estate education program.
$38,000.
Yeah.
That's a serious price point. So this isn't just theory. It's a real world example of closing a high ticket deal.
That's the idea. We're going to break down this call, sort of extract the key lessons on sales fundamentals using Ambro's own framework.
Right. He talks about 4 main stages. So our mission today is to dissect this call using those stages and see what makes it tick.
Okay, sounds good. Where do we start? Stage 1.
Stage 1, setting the call. Ambro points out this is all about, framing the conversation right at the beginning.
Yeah, establishing the ground rules, basically. And Rico does this almost immediately, doesn't he? After the hellos.
He does. He says something like, okay, here's how this will go. I'll get to know you, then I'll explain the mentorship, and then we figure out if it's a fit.
But the key part, and Ambro really flags this, is when Rico says it's a decision-making call.
Yeah, he explicitly asks for a yes or a no by the end. No maybes.
Which is pretty bold, It sets a certain tone.
How so? What does that achieve, do you think?
Well, it kind of puts the prospect on notice in a good way. It says, let's be efficient, let's respect each other's time. It cuts down on that, let me think about it, uncertainty.
Yeah, avoids ambiguity, it forces focus. Ambro stresses how crucial this is for keeping the conversation on track.
Definitely. So the stage is set, everyone knows the objective, what happens next?
Then we move into the longest part of the call, really. The discovery phase.
Yes, discovery. This is where the salesperson, Rico in this case, needs to understand the prospect deeply, what drives them, what problems they have.
What they actually want. And Ambro makes a good point. This was an inbound call. The prospect booked it themselves.
Which already tells you something, right? There's existing interest. They're probably leaning towards buying something. They're not just kicking tires.
Exactly. So Rico starts digging with a pretty open question. What was the motivation behind booking one of these calls?
And the answer is, well, it's quite something. This prospect isn't exactly starting from scratch.
Not at all. He's 26, runs a business doing 7, maybe 8 figures a year.
Wow.
And has over 8 figures in cash sitting around. Earning interest, but he wants more.
Okay, so he's got significant capital. What's he looking to do?
He wants to diversify into real estate. He's already been thinking about big stuff like 150-unit apartment deals, even development projects.
So he's sophisticated, he understands business, has capital, he just needs the real estate how-to.
Precisely. And Rico uses a technique here that Ambro points out, labeling. From Chris Voss.
From Never Split the Difference. Good stuff. How does Rico use it?
He listens to the prospect talk about his goals and then summarizes it back so it sounds like you're looking to build wealth through real estate. Just confirming understanding.
Simple but effective. Builds rapport, makes sure they're aligned. Okay, so they've established the goal. What next?
Rico then asks a key question to uncover the roadblocks. What's been holding you back from pulling your trigger on anything? Trying to find the pain point.
And what has been holding him back? with all that capital.
It sounds like analysis paralysis almost. He says it's hard to find deals that pencil out, hard to tell good deals from garbage, as he puts it. He wants to understand the calculations, the returns.
Right, he needs the framework, the confidence to evaluate deals properly. He mentioned a land deal he was unsure about too, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. He lacks that specific expertise. So Rico probes further. What are you looking for specifically out of mentorship?
And does he get a straight answer right away?
Not exactly. The prospect kind of goes off on tangents initially, talking about hard money loans, ticket brokering, stuff from his past experience.
Yeah, people do that sometimes, dancing around the core issue.
So Rico gently brings him back. He asks really directly, what do you need help with, brother? Ambro notes how effective that simple, direct question is.
And does that work?
It does. The prospect clarifies. He needs help with the practical stuff for development, permitting, valuing properties correctly, the whole A to Z process. He specifically mentions preferring ground-up development.
Okay, so now we're getting somewhere concrete, specific needs identified.
And he mentions a long-term goal, getting 200 apartment units. He sees it as a kind of safety net.
200 units? That's ambitious. How does Rico react to that?
Interestingly, Rico actually pushes back a bit. He suggests that with the prospect's capital, 200 units might be aiming too low.
Really? Is that risky? Telling a prospect their goal isn't big enough?
Ambro frames it as Rico establishing authority and expertise. It positions the mentorship as something that can help him achieve even more. It's about expanding his vision, not just meeting it.
Ah, okay. Clever positioning. It maintains that expert frame.
And then Rico introduces a key distinction. There's the standard mentorship, and then there's this higher level mentorship partnership, the inner circle.
Setting up different tiers, different levels of engagement.
Right. And the prospect sounds interested in being involved, potentially in that partnership model. So the discovery phase has done its job, needs are clear, rapport is built.
Which leads us naturally into the next stage, the product pitch.
Exactly. Now that Rico understands the prospect's specific situation and goals, he can tailor the pitch. He doesn't just dump features.
He starts by framing that choice you mentioned, the standard program, Springboard 12 versus the premium inner circle.
Let's talk about Springboard 12 first. What did that involve?
Rico breaks it down into 3 core parts: education, implementation, and community. It's lifetime access, apparently.
Lifetime access, okay. What kind of education?
A full curriculum, A to Z, of real estate investing. Plus, weekly coaching calls with the founder, this guy Thatch. Access to other coaches, the community forum.
And resources too, right? Like contacts.
Yeah, he mentions access to lists of contractors, property managers, funding sources. Pretty comprehensive support system. Sounds solid on its own.
It does. But then there's the inner circle. How is that positioned differently?
That's framed as the path for serious scalability. The big differentiator is the potential for actual partnership.
Partnership. Like doing deals together.
Potentially, yes. It includes direct access to Thatch himself, joint venture possibilities on bigger projects. It's positioned as the fast track for someone like this prospect.
Ambro had a good point about offering 2 options like this, didn't he? The psychology of it.
Oh yeah, the Pepsi versus Coke thing. It shifts the decision from if you should buy to which one you should buy.
Right. Instead of do I want this mentorship, it becomes which level fits me best. Smart.
Definitely. It guides the decision-making process.
And how does Rico handle it when the prospect floats the idea of some kind of trade-off or hybrid model?
He handles it smoothly. He's firm but polite. Says the core program structure is set, but reinforces that partnership discussions can happen with Thatch, specifically within the inner circle.
So he holds the line on the standard program, but keeps the door open for the higher tiers benefits.
Exactly. He then answers some more specific questions the prospect has about how the mentorship works, just clarifying details. The momentum is definitely building.
It feels like they're heading towards the close now. He's connected the dots between the prospect's needs and the solutions offered.
Which brings us to stage 4, closing the deal.
Right, the moment of truth, as they say. Rico has laid the groundwork, addressed the needs from discovery.
But the prospect throws in a potential curveball, right? A concern about contact methods.
Yeah, he mentioned something about the contact methods seeming a bit outdated, specifically questioning how easy it is to actually reach Thatch. That could derail things.
A late-stage objection. How does Rico counter that?
He addresses it directly, reassures him that in the inner circle, direct access is key. mentions getting Thatch's phone number, plus emphasizes the weekly live video calls that happen for both programs anyway.
Okay, so he tackles the objection head-on and uses it to reinforce the value of the premium option again. Nicely done.
Then, it's time for the price.
The big reveal. How does he present it?
Springboard 12 is stated as $9,800, and the inner circle is presented as an additional $30,000 on top of that.
So, total of $39,800 for the inner circle path. Interesting framing it as an add-on.
Yeah, maybe makes the jump seem less stark, anchoring it to the base price first.
Could be. And then comes the closing question.
Very direct. Where would you like to start off? But he doesn't stop there. He adds a slight challenge.
What's the challenge?
He immediately follows up with, you think you want to go straight into the inner circle? Almost like he's testing the prospect's conviction.
Huh. Interesting tactic. And the response?
The prospect confirms. Yes, he wants to go straight into the inner circle.
Wow. So that earlier suggestion from Rico about aiming higher clearly landed.
It seems so. It aligned with the prospect's ambition.
Amazing. So the deal's essentially done at that point. What are the final steps?
Just the mechanics, really. Rico pulls up the invoice notes. It's two separate transactions because of that add-on structure. Confirms the prospect's email.
And confirms he wants the pay in full option for the inner circle.
Yep, and that's pretty much it. Sale closed, $39,800.
Incredible to hear it play out like that. A masterclass in structured selling.
So, wrapping this up, what are the big lessons we can pull from this deep dive into Rico's call?
Well, first off, the structure is undeniable, isn't it?
Yeah.
Set the call, discover, pitch, close. It provides a clear roadmap.
Absolutely, and the depth of that discovery phase was key. Really understanding the why behind the prospect's interest.
And then tailoring the pitch specifically to those uncovered needs. It wasn't a generic presentation. Plus, handling objections calmly, like that contact method concern.
That point about offering two distinct options, springboard and inner circle, also seems really important psychologically.
Yeah, guiding the choice. And one other thing Ambro mentioned that stuck with me.
What's that?
That balance between being somewhat detached, not desperate for the sale, but also genuinely seeming to care about the prospect achieving their goals. That authenticity matters.
Detachment combined with genuine care. That's a tricky but powerful balance.
Definitely. It builds trust.
Okay, so here's a final thought for everyone listening. How can you apply these core ideas, structured approach, deep discovery, tailored solutions, confident closing beyond just formal sales?
Yeah, think about selling an idea at work or negotiating something in your personal life or even just trying to persuade someone.
How could truly understanding the other person's motivations and pains and then framing your proposal as a solution change the outcome? Something to mull over.
Absolutely. Great stuff to think about.
That's our deep dive for today. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.